and welcome back, gamers and viewers, to Let's Play Silent Hunter 4 with Lord Cucumber. Well, that was an interesting end of the last part with the Japanese freighter sinking. We are back on course, and yeah, I think it's about time to explain a little bit more about the game itself, the game mechanics. It was a nice little demonstration of how things can go. Yeah, as I said before, or well, started to say in any case, the entire command deck is modded and adapted to look real. You know, the base game, I don't think there's very much changes with the base game with this mod, but yeah, everything you see here is basically live representation of what's going on. So yeah, we are currently surfaced, so that means if you look at the gauge here, we are at about 15 feet depth. We are really low in the water. I mean high in the water. I keep mixing those up. I did so with the torpedoes just now. I don't know why. Anyway, in the previous video at least. Okay, so that's really nice. I mean, the speedometer that you see here in the middle is actually telling us we're going 1 knot. We're not moving technically, but if I were to speed up to a normal speed, I can do that if I've got my route planned, and I do. Nice little icon here for the sunk ship right there. That's our first score right there. And we're gonna say to our navigational guy, return to course.
Yes, sir.
And we return to our command room. You will see the speedometer here. You see it's going up like that. It's going to about, I think about 10, 12 knots, something like that. Maybe a little faster even. There we go. Yep. And we are off into the wild blue yonder. Alright, I'm gonna go back to the periscope for a moment because yeah, I think it would be nice to explain a couple of things about how that works. Right, so first off, you raise your periscope. Right now it's kind of useless because we are above water, but I just want to show you how things work with the periscope. We have several tabs here that help us use the periscope in contact with the torpedoes. Basically, what you got here is a line down the middle, which is your zero line. It's the exact middle of where you're aiming. So basically, your reticle. Okay, above here is the is sort of 360 degree representation of where the boat is going. If we can see, we see the point of the boat, the tip of the boat, the front, aiming forward, and it's exactly at 0 degrees. So if I were to turn like to the right, I would eventually end up on a 90-degree angle exactly to the right here. And if I were to turn some more, I would go to the back of the ship on 180. So that's your basic compass of where you are going in comparison to where the ship is going. So that's very handy if you want to aim at enemies that are in front of you and not being able to see the tip of the ship. Like if you're underwater, you want to aim like this, because if you were to do this, you would be looking down into the water. It wouldn't help. Anyway, so what I also did, I broke off my torpedo attack. I did that very deliberately. If I hadn't done that, then we would probably have wasted a good torpedo. The reason is, what you want basically is the torpedo to hit the bow of the enemy ship at exactly, or at least approximately, 90 degrees angle. So an angle that is, well, perpendicular to your target, and then you want to hit it square on the side. I'm not sure how to explain this I'm sure some people might do a better job in the comments, but you don't want to hit it from like a slanted angle, like 30 degrees or 70 degrees, because the reason is torpedoes back then had a trigger mechanism that was very much based on contact explosions. So they would only go off if they made contact with an enemy ship at a certain angle, literally pressing a button on the torpedo to ignite the fuse of the explosion. So it can actually ricochet off the boat and disappear into the depths of the ocean, which is a waste of a good torpedo, and of course your position would be known to the enemy because they would hear a loud bang next to their bow, something banging against their bow and then dropping. You could think that would be a seagull taking a wrong turn, but well, seagulls are generally not large and metallic. Also, I also told you about the torpedo settings being screwed. In the first 2 years of the war, the American government used torpedoes, or issued torpedoes. The Ordnance Department did, that were off. They were off in the sense that they were set to go very deep, deeper than they were actually supposed to go. So they would always go under ships if you didn't mess with the depth of the torpedo, like I did. Which makes it, in the first 2 years of a campaign, like I'm playing 1941 right now, from 1941 to at least mid-1942, I'm gonna be adjusting the torpedo depth because of that. Yeah, it's annoying, but it is realistic because they did have that trouble back then with the calibration of torpedoes. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that little detail. And if you forget it, you basically shoot under ships, which can be useful, by the way, because for instance, if you undershoot one ship, you might hit another with a deeper bearing. One ship could be almost at the surface, and the other could basically be deeper in the water, and you would hit that one instead. I've seen it happen. Of course, that's luck. That's pure luck, but it can be fairly spectacular. Also, here's a little gauge with the offset angle, meaning that you can actually influence the torpedo to take not a straight line down your angle, but deviate slightly, for instance to the right, which is very handy if you want to hit a target in a specific spot. For instance, if you want to hit, if the ship here would be exactly lined up and locked, because you can lock the periscope, your reticle would be just over the smokestack. And the fun thing is, behind the smokestack is the more interesting area to hit. So a little bit to the left is never bad, because that's where the engine compartments and of course fuel are stored, usually in most ships, not all of them. And if you hit that part, that is almost certain to go kaboom and blow the ships sky high. So yeah, that can be a handy little trick from time to time. Most ships, small ships at least, will go down with 1 or 2 torpedoes. But if you're going up against battleships or carriers or such ships, and ships that are not tankers, so that are not automatically having a lot of fuel on board, you're going to have a few more torpedoes, usually up to, well, say 4. That's why it's handy to have 4 tubes. In any case. Okay, what else can I tell you? Yeah, there's a couple of other tricks that I might end up explaining later. I also set this switch which is the low-high switch, which basically alters the speed of the torpedo from low speed to high speed. I wanted a quick kill. If I would have fired that torpedo, it would have really shot out to the ship in front of us, and with only a kilometer of distance, it would have made it in maybe 20 seconds. It would have been real quick. And also the exploder, you can make it a full contact torpedo or a contact influence torpedo, which is basically a torpedo that also has, I think, a magnetic setting, so that when it comes near a lot of metal, it will also blow, and not just rely on a physical contact. Okay, so, and below here I also use this, is basically your steering gears, your the setting of your engines, the setting of where you're going, your compass, and also your depth meter. Very handy to have. And there's these little buttons, which also give you the deeper depth meter. There we go, there's a difference here. 450 feet apparently, or meters even, is apparently possible with this thing. I don't think they've been tested for that, but okay. There is the rudder that you can switch to, and there is also the knot meter. If you just want a specific speed and not a rough speed, you can also say, I want to go 2 knots right now. I'm going to show it to you. There we go. I'm dropping to 2 knots in a moment. There we go. Tick, 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 tick. It's going to go right here. If I switch back, that's almost stop, but not quite. Okay, so that's the torpedo screen. We're going to lower this thing because this is a very clear signal that we are there. We don't want that. You could imagine that not being very good. There we go. Alright, the other things in our view are the fuel, which right now is 89 out of 100. That's diesel fuel. Our electric battery level, which is almost full. We're recharging it from our last dive. Our oxygen, which is full, and our CO2 meter, which is empty, which is good. For all you people who aren't too well versed in biology, if CO2 gets over a certain amount, it starts it starts sort of poisoning the air. It starts overtaking the air basically, and you're breathing CO2 instead of air, which is only a thing plants can do with enough sunlight. People generally die because of it. They go unconscious, nauseous at first, and then unconscious, and eventually they go into a coma and die. So this, if you dive, could pose serious problems if it rises too high. So, alright, what I also used was the deck gun. We're going to go there for a moment. Hold on. This is the bridge. There we go. Here we are. These guys are taking a look out. We're just going to take it easy. We've made our first kill. We're not in a hurry to get more kills. Beautiful blue sea. Lovely little detail here. Major difference with the Atlantic. This sea is probably a lot warmer, but it also has a lot of inhabitants that you don't want to meet up with when you're in it, after your ship has sunk. Read up on the Wikipedia on the USS Indianapolis and you'll know why. Anyway, right, the bridge then. The bridge basically is a very basic version of a bridge. It has all the same things, with the extra added things like the anti-aircraft gun and the deck gun, which I will now demonstrate. Fun thing in Silent Hunter is that you can actually enter all of these